Everybody, Invisiblekatana here, and today I would like to discuss the new Valve announcement. First off, wow, sorry to Xbox, because my God, 2 cuck chairs in a month is crazy. But yeah, we got some new Valve stuff. 3 new Valve things. They can count to 3. Technically 4 if you're counting, they count the Steam Deck. That's 4 different things. They not only counted to 3, they went beyond. So we'll see what happens with that. But the actual items themselves, we got a new controller, new VR, which will be very interesting to see that play out when it actually releases. I'm very curious about that because they already had their own VR thing, and this isn't like, hey, this is the number 2, because if I'm not mistaken, theirs was the 5, was them. But it's not the second 5, it's like a brand new thing. Like, it's so new, they're like, we're not even calling it the same thing, like brand new development and everything. So I am very curious about that one, and the specs and everything for that. And then the pièce de résistance, this little tiny box. That's a computer. You can just sit it right next to your TV. It's very simple. You plug it in, you play, you got all your Steam games. You have all your Xbox PC games as well. And it's like, ooh, that has to sting. First, they're dropping all their exclusives. And I even said that, I think I said this in the video where I talked about exclusives, where I was like, if the next console comes out and it's like $1,000, if it's meant to be basically a hybrid console PC situation where you get like all your Xbox games, but if they can and I think I legit said it, and this was my number one thing where I was like, if it's PC, obviously we're all thinking Steam. If they can find some way to talk to them and be like, hey, obviously we're Microsoft, we got our own thing, but also you can integrate with Steam, and then you can have your games on the new Xbox console, and you could just do it as like actual downloads. You just download all your Steam games, delete them, and when you got run out of space and all that, and just keep going, boom, you have your Steam games. And then this comes out and it's like, that was literally, for me personally at least, that was literally the saving grace that they had, where I was like, the only thing that I could think of that would make whatever Xbox does next for a console would have to be Steam integration, because everything's an Xbox. So all of it's going PC, they got the ROG, which is a handheld gaming PC, like that's all it is. But they would have to do their own actual version. For anyone who doesn't know this, by the way, the ROG whatever, the Ally X, that's for PC Xbox. So that's not like, hey, I bought an Xbox and then I also bought the ROG, I can just play this game over here. It's not like that. It's PC Game Pass. So it's not just, hey, I have everything that I have on console. You do not. You have PC Game Pass, which is totally different. I bring this up every chance I get, but PC Game Pass is the reason that I have not played Ninja Gaiden, because you can't play, there is no PC version of Ninja Gaiden Black and the original Ninja Gaiden 2. You have to have an actual Xbox console, because that is how you get to play those games. Obviously, you can play the Sigma versions now online, but if you want to play the original of 2, it has to be on the actual Xbox hardware, because they didn't have a PC port. So they don't have it where you have like this nice, so I mean, granted, I would say the Series X is fairly portable, all things considered. It's a decent, tiny system. But that was their one thing. I was like, have like a hybrid gaming PC, sort of situation going on. Implement all things Xbox and have it be just as good as the console, where it's like, no, it's every single game that's on Game Pass, not just PC. And then also integrate Steam, and maybe you got something good going on. And then Steam was like, hey, we got it covered, and we got faceplates. They're gonna make so much money off of those dumb faceplates. It's gonna be ridiculous. Like, they're gonna put out they're gonna have like Left 4 Dead characters. I'm telling you, they're gonna put out every pointless thing they possibly can. It's gonna be like the actual Steam marketplace. They're gonna put an effing golden wrench on that junk, and it's like, here's a faceplate with a golden wrench on it, and it'll be worth like $3,000. Like, it's gonna be ridiculous. But they put out this little Steam, I wish they called it the Steam Cube, but it is what it is, because GameCube and all that. But they put out this little thing, and of course we don't have prices yet, so who knows, this thing might come out to $1,000. I highly doubt it, but it's supposed to be 60 frames, 4K, a lot of upscaling, of course, based on everything I saw. It's not as powerful as a PS5, but it's in that range. So we call it like PS4 Pro, kind of, honestly, I think that puts it on the level of Switch 2, or like just around it. So with upscaling and all that stuff, I think it's incredibly solid. Obviously, once again, the price will be, the price is the final factor that we just have to wait on, but it was a crazy announcement to see that come out. I was like, okay, they got some new stuff or whatever. And then when I actually watched the video, and I was like, oh no, this was, I mean, obviously, I'm sure Microsoft had plans or whatever. I mean, I hope that they weren't doing what I was thinking, because that would physically hurt somebody. Like your soul would be crushed if their idea was to do what I was thinking, which was like, I wonder, if maybe we can talk to, Valve and figure something out with Steam, and then they drop this and it's like, oh my God, we have nothing. So I hope that wasn't the plan. I hope they were like, let's use all this Microsoft money to do our own thing, because now they're extra screwed. That's more competition. I mean, heck, that's realistically, it is another full-on console. Realistically speaking, I know it's like a PC or whatever, but also it's a tiny little cube and it plays all your games. It's just digital. The Series S is all digital, and this is better than that. It's probably going to cost more than that as well, or maybe not. With all the price hikes and everything crazy like that, it might end up coming out to the same effing price. Who knows? Granted, it's also Steam. This goes into that situation of hardware versus software costs. Steam is pure, unadulterated software. Sales after sales after sales. I mean, we all know, a couple dollars here, a couple dollars there. Look at that, I have 100 games that I bought that I have not even played yet. Haven't even installed these things. That's Steam. If they can sell you a little tiny box and then you're just buying Steam games for life, that thing could cost a very small amount of money. Like, I think you'd be shocked how much they could do that as a firmware. They could do what most consoles do, actually, because the only people that were putting out consoles at price was Nintendo, because the Switch 1 was so pathetically cheap. They could literally make money off of selling the console and the video games. Microsoft couldn't do that with the Xbox, and PlayStation, or Sony couldn't do that with the PlayStation either. When they sell consoles, they sell them as they're called like loss leaders or something like that, and it's where you sell it and it costs more to make the console than it does to sell it, but you do that anyway and you sell it for cheaper, because you know that in the back end you're going to make all that money up, because you're going to have all these different games. You're going to have all your digital sales, especially because that's 100% directly to, well, I shouldn't say 100% to the console, but it's more money for the console. It's a bigger split compared to having it in stores, where the store also gets a split, and then the company, and then Sony themselves. So they already used to do that. That's kind of just like the standard, in all honesty. And now we have Valve coming out with a little Steam box, and the amount of money that they make, they could actually charge $100 for this. They would never do that, but they could charge $100 and it would not cost them anything. I mean, Gabe Newell is probably on a yacht in space right now with all the money he has. They could do it. They won't do it because, of course, it's business and all that stuff. It's going to be like at least a couple $100s. I'd be shocked if it wasn't. I mean, if it's under $1,000, I could see that. I think it'll be in the range of like the PS5 Pro in terms of cost. I personally, regardless of its power, I think that's what it's going to cost. I think it's going to be in like the $600-700 range, because it is still a tiny little PC, but it's incredibly powerful. A lot of work on upscaling and stuff like that. So once again, that's the classic, let's see what happens when it actually releases type situation. But it seems like it's going to be pretty decent. It's going to be more than decent for most people. I mean, if you're really thinking about it, because once again, I like to say this every time I have these videos, you're listening to this because you're deep into the community. Like, we're talking about this and we're thinking about like, man, what does this mean for the future of gaming? Is it extra competition? It kind of puts them into the actual like console realm, which is really interesting. So we're talking about it in a completely different sense compared to most people, where it's like, hey, you can buy these games over here. Most Xbox games, well, at this point, it'll pretty much be everything. Like right now, it's still somewhat limited, but at this point, it's kind of like, all right, hey, you're going to have like everything on PC, I would assume. So you got a bunch of Xbox stuff, PlayStation, a year or two later, if you're concerned about it, it's there. But also, you got like a quadrillion indie games and old games that you can play. Like, I think this, oddly enough, kind of like the first Switch, I think this has a really great opportunity, or could be a great opportunity for a ton of indie gamers, or indie creators, I should say. Both sides of the fence, I guess, where it's like, hey, a lot of people only publish on Steam anyway. Where it's like, hey, I've just got this indie game, I'm just putting it online, boom, it's on Steam. That's very different now. Like it used to just be like, hey, you got to go on your laptop and stuff. And like I said, we're deep into it, so it seems we're like, it's all super easy to us. But a lot of people are not into gaming like that. A lot of people are going to figure this out, and once again, depending on how the news kind of flows with it, and how they do the marketing and everything, if more people realize, oh, it's like a little PC, but it's super easy. It's not like, oh, I have to upgrade this and do that. It's literally a tiny, if anything, the fact that it's so small is what's going to make people see it as like the easy version of PC gaming. It's something about like, let's be honest. You tell someone that doesn't know anything about computers to look at a rig versus looking at that tiny little box, and you tell me what they're gonna pick. Like, honestly, you just look at the average person. It's like, are you gonna pick this rig or are you gonna pick the little PC box? And it's like, that looks like it's already finished. That's how people are gonna see it. It's a tiny box with a faceplate on it that I can switch out, and I can change the lights. That's all people need to see. That's easy. That's as easy as it gets. Boom, I have a new console now. And that new console is strictly digital. It'll have 1 billion old games. Then people are gonna come into the world and be like, oh, Steam does sales? Steam does, like, video games can go on sale for $2. I guarantee you there's a giant chunk of the gaming community that still does not know you can end up buying games for like $5. They think it's like Christmas or Black Friday and that's it. They don't understand Steam sales. They don't know the autumn sale. They don't know about like the indie fest that pop up. They don't know about oh god, I always forget what it's actually called, but like Steam Fest where they do like all the demos. They don't know about stuff like that. But that's like a new level of the indie community where people are going to be like, oh, there's way more stuff out there. People are going to find more games. People are going to have a much easier time getting on PC. And then, of course, I'm sure those people, eventually like upgrade to like making rigs and stuff like that. But there are going to be a lot of people that don't. I didn't do PC gaming for a super long time. I mean, technically, I did start like years and years ago, but I wasn't doing it like when I was a kid. There's some people that were doing it when they were young. The first time I ever saw mods, it was my older cousin had it on his computer, and it was for Max Payne 2, and I'll never forget it. And it was like he changed like the physical or like the melee bat into like a purple lightsaber and a katana, and like all his guns were like cool and silver and stuff. And I was like, what is this? Like, this is not what Max Payne looks like on the PlayStation. And then that's how I discovered what mods were. So that was me as like a little kid, and then I never even touched mods until like way later. And I did PC gaming like before I did PC gaming, then eventually I got into mods. But it's a transitionary period, and there are a lot of people that are still in that middle ground where it's like, yeah, I've seen mods or I've seen people play on PC, but that's not for me. That's not my thing. I mean, heck, there are tons of people that do PC gaming that will never touch mods. So you have all of those people that are in like those different layers and categories that are like, one day, maybe if something introduces them to it, they might get into PC gaming. But odds are they're just like, my games are right here. I'll stick to console. I go to the store or I buy them online. And I'm set. I'm set for life. And now Valve has come out and said, what if you were set for life and also you could buy a game for $2? Because that's what's going to happen. And when people realize they can spend however much it costs, like I'm telling you, they're going to put the marketing in there. If they don't, that would be insane. But I would be on the marketing department like, okay, when we tell them the cost, our first commercial has to be like, did you know that we have a thing called the autumn sale? Like, all they have to do is just put it in the commercial. This is what it costs. Also, have you heard about these sales we do? Look at this game. This is how much it normally costs. This is what it costs. They could literally show like the actual numbers from like whatever the most recent sale was. They could just say, this is what this game costs when we put it on sale. We do like 15 sales a year. Maybe you want to buy this. Cost you like $400 or $500 right now, and you can buy $2 effing games. Did you know that there are indie games? Have you ever played an indie game? They're all over that effing place. We have obviously they won't reference the porn games because they got a buttload of those too. But if you can, get through the, we'll call it Luigi content. If you get that reference, let me know. But when you get through the Luigi content, you can get a bunch of other indie games. You can also get some AAA games. If you're behind on the times, you can get a couple of PlayStation games, but you can get most Xbox games. And you can have them better because they're going to be upscaled in 4K, 60 frames. I would assume that there's going to be some way to introduce mods. Once again, it just depends how they do it. If it's going to be kind of like the Steam Deck, maybe there's going to be some wiggle room to do a few extra things here and there. It just depends how many functions they really put into, the actual PC side of it. So that'll be interesting to see. Like, are they going to, can you just straight up be like, hey, it is technically a tiny PC. Are they going to let people do that, or are they just going to keep it nice and simple? Like, nope, you go on Steam, you buy stuff, and then that's it. And then maybe later down the line, they'll find a way to introduce, mods easily and be like, hey, here's Nexus, I don't know if they would do that, but like, hey, here's Nexus mods as like an actual like work through. Like you hit this button, it takes you to the mods. I kind of doubt that would ever happen, but that would also be absolutely amazing if it did. But even without mods, like I said, there are tons of people that won't ever get into that realm, so it's irrelevant anyway. But it is going to be incredibly interesting to see how they market this, because regardless of price, we're already like, yeah, I got a PC, I don't need to get this. It's cool, I like the idea of it, but I'm not gonna buy it. Like, I have no reason to do that. Like, I have a laptop and I have a rig. I have Steam on both. I have all my stuff. Like, I'm set. I don't need like a random little PC box. But there are a buttload of people that do. There are people that might be thinking, you know, I have a laptop where I can play some games. It's decent enough. But what if I just got this? I'm not that crazy about, you know, PC gaming. But if I wanted to be a little bit more intense about it, I'll just do this. I don't have to buy a rig. I can just buy this little thing, which I really wish they called it the Steam box now. But I can just buy this little cube. It's got Valve, it's got Steam, it's got everything that I could possibly want. I can also play Xbox games on it. I can also play PlayStation games on it, because everything that's sold on Steam is gonna be on there. It's not like they're gonna, unless PlayStation does something where they wanna switch things up for how they release PC games, and then they wanna make their own thing that you have to get and all that service. I really hope they never do that. But if they decide to do that, then sure, maybe things would change. But as of now, just going off of the way the world works in gaming currently, you got Valve, you got a bunch of Xbox games, you got a sprinkle of PlayStation games. It's already there. And then you just kind of throw that in together and it's like, cool. I already got it. Especially if you're the type of person that is like, all right, you know, I like some Xbox games, I like some PlayStation games. Once again, next generation comes, none of this will matter anyway. But as of now, and you know, of course, we'll see what happens by the time it releases, what the deal is on the Xbox digital side of things, and how many games that they implement, or you know, how that ends up playing out. But as of now, it's still in the realm of you get a buttload of digital for Xbox, tons of games. And then you have your sprinkling of PlayStation, and then even that might develop into, you know, you might not have to wait as long, you know, in the future when they decide to switch things up a little bit. Or maybe, I don't know if they'll ever do day and date with PC, but that would be very interesting. But this is a heck of an announcement, and that has got to suck for Microsoft. Like, genuinely. Like, this is like the one thing, like I mentioned earlier, this was the thing where I was like, if they did that, it could totally work. You implement it, you have a little console that's easy to just you just buy a console, but also you get Steam and all the Steam sales and everything. Xbox could do that, they might have something. And then Valve just did it themselves. And they threw out other stuff with it, where it was just like, yeah, here you go. You got a controller, we got, you know, it's cool, it snaps on wirelessly, it's got the little pads. It looks weird, it does look weird, but they put everything on it where like, here you go, 2 thumbsticks, back buttons. They put everything in that controller, if we're being honest. It's like, we got gyro, we got haptics, we got 2 touch pads for your thumbs, 2 thumbsticks. I think it was like 4 back buttons. So they were like, here you go. Here's one controller that can do everything that every game will ever need to do ever. And that's about it. Unless it's on the Wii, it can be played on this controller at this point. So I thought that was interesting. You know, once again, something I don't need. I have a controller. I don't need like the universal remote of video game controllers, even though it's a great idea. I don't need that personally, so I'm good on that. I have, you know, this isn't saying much. I completely understand when I say this. I know it doesn't mean anything, but I have the PSVR 2, so I don't need VR again. I don't need another one. I will gladly take one for free, especially because, you know, I have to pay for the adapter to get, you know, some of the other games, but I can at least still play a couple games. I can still play Half-Life Alyx, if I'm not mistaken. I can play that with my PSVR 2 if I get the adapter. So, you know, there's still a route for me to take to play certain PC games. Or PC VR games, but I do think there are some that are limited when it comes to like, hey, you know, if it's PSVR 2, I still don't think you can play every VR game, even with the adapter. I think some games, you know, it's kind of just like, hey, this just isn't going to work with this. Technically, it is kind of its own system/console. I don't even know how you'd really describe it. I guess it would just be a peripheral, but it's its own like unique peripheral. All the VR games typically are. So I'm curious to see how, like I said, how that one plays out, but seems cool. It definitely seems interesting. Decent large controllers based on what they showed with all like, you know, full-on buttons and everything. So I was like, okay, it's, you know, they're making sure. They even say in the commercial, like, yeah, you can just play all your regular games if you want to do this, because it has the classic function of being like, well, if it's not a VR game, you can still just play it and just, you know, have the headset on and it's like the big screen. PSVR 2 does that as well, and it's kind of like you're in a theater. Like, it's just like a giant screen and it's just kind of close up and you can see like all the black space around you. And so it's like, oh, that's kind of interesting. It feels weird to me personally because I'm like, I'd rather just be watching my TV than have, because it's like I'm still wearing the headset, so it's like it just feels different for me personally. It doesn't really add anything where it's like, wow, it's like this giant screen. I'm just kind of like, yeah, it just feels weird to have a giant screen in this empty, kind of weird empty black space. So for me, it's whatever. But I got my PSVR 2, so I don't need another VR system. I don't need, like I said, the universal remote of gaming controllers. And I don't really need, the Steam box. But there's a lot of people that are gonna need it. I think if we're going with numbers, it's gonna be the little box. It's gonna be the box that's gonna sell the most. Then it's probably gonna be the controller. Then it's gonna be the VR. And I'm curious what that means for Valve and how much they support the stuff going forward. I know that what they did with the Vive, their version of VR when they originally came out with it. I know theirs was like the VR system, like theirs was fairly intense. So I am pretty curious how that's gonna pan out when we get to whatever the exact specs and technology the new one's gonna be. So I'm looking forward to seeing that, even though I don't ever intend on owning it myself. I'm just excited to see it. Like I said, they got yachts in space type money. They can do a lot of interesting things with the tech. I mean, heck, they're making this tiny little thing and being like, yeah, lights and faceplates, but also 4K 60 on every single game. It's like, okay, that's an ambitious idea that I'm sure will definitely work at least in the third month. We all know how it is. Like things just come out, especially when it's PC based. They come out and it's like, cool. It technically works, and for some people it works exactly as it's supposed to, and then for a lot of other people it works about 70 to 82% of the way it's supposed to work. So we'll see what happens when it officially comes out. But I am excited, and my heart truly goes out to Microsoft and everything that's going to happen to them. If you haven't seen it, Phil Spencer made a post, and there were some comments on there and some very funny jokes. I put like a little thing on there. It was KK Slider doing the old meal, why the fuck you lying? I just thought it was funny. Like, I'm not really concerned. I've never been concerned when it comes to console wars or any of that stuff. But also, dang, realistically speaking, they seem kind of screwed. I don't know what they can do. Like, and they're also talking about handhelds. That's going to be another episode because Xbox and PlayStation are both, there are rumors of them doing like full-on handheld consoles and going back to that again. And I'm like, I don't know if that's even a good idea, but that's a different video. We'll talk about that later. But I would love to know your thoughts on what has happened in this recent announcement. And first off, what do you guys think of it? Are you excited? Does it not matter? Is it just kind of one of those cool gaming things? Because that's what it is for me. Like I said, I have everything I need. I don't need an extra controller. I don't need another VR. I don't need basically another PC. It's like I literally have two. So I'm good. But it's really great for gaming because it's like, man, this is the type of thing where I'm like, if my little cousin is gonna get into like a new console or a new system or something like that, or heck, my cousins live together, it's my younger cousins. So there's 3 of them, 2 of them are gaming at this point. I could at some point recommend like, you should just get the kids this. Everyone can have every type of game that they want, and you can have 1 billion of them and cheaper. And I'm telling you, the marketing, the single thing that they need to do is make sure parents realize, hey, we know that it's crazy that you're gonna spend 5 to 6, maybe even 700 plus tax on this little box. It's got faceplates. Did you see the faceplates? It's got little pretty lights. But also, we are Steam. We have Steam sales. Have you ever seen a game cost this little? And if you're being honest, just think about your own parents. Think about everyone that you know that does not game. It is a foreign concept. They probably don't even know games cost 70 and that we hate that right now. So admittedly, they probably have no concept of what games cost, but they definitely know they don't cost 10 effing dollars. They know that they've never seen a video game go on sale unless it's in the bargain bin for 5 effing dollars. It doesn't have to be the garbage bargain bin games anymore. You can just get games on sale for 10 effing dollars, and they're great games. They could be older games. Believe me, there's still 1 billion games that I want that I'm like, I have no reason to buy that because I already have a backlog. But every time I see them, I'm like, the further I wait, the cheaper they get. And that's just how it's gonna be. That's all they have to do. You're gonna pay this up front, but also you can buy the cheapest effing games possible. You didn't even know video games could be this cheap. And there are gonna be a lot of people that realize, holy crap, there is a realm in gaming where games can cost me less than $20. And for parents, that is going to mean a whole lot. So honestly, the marketing is the easiest thing in the world. They got nothing to worry about there. So we'll see what happens when the official prices are revealed, but they have like the easiest job in the world. All they have to do is make sure those commercials say, we have Steam sales all the effing time. I'm dead serious. Tell somebody that games can cost them $5, you sold a console. That's just a fact. So we'll see how they do it. We'll see how it all pans out when it's officially released and we get all the prices and all that stuff next year. But I would love to know your thoughts on this. It's on we're just gonna call it a console. So the little Steam box, the console, the VR, as well as the universal remote of controllers. I wanna know your thoughts on all of that. RIP to Microsoft. It's funny to joke about it, but I am very curious now because what the F are they gonna do? So we'll see what happens. We'll love to know your thoughts though, so please put your comments down in the comment section below. And of course, thanks for watching.